Envision the grotesque glee of Donald J. Trump, that 79-year-old carnival barker of bankruptcy and bluster, whose very large brain now dribbles delusions like a faucet left on in a forgotten motel room, chuckling from his Mar-a-Lago man cave as his hand-picked Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, the primetime poseur with a penchant for pint-sized patriotism and pint-sized pores, issues orders to kill everybody on a suspected narco boat off Trinidad, blasting 2 survivors clinging to wreckage into chum with a second Hellfire hail, a savage spectacle that has even the ghosts of Nuremberg nodding in grim agreement. What if this high-seas holocaust, scripted by a Fox News flack whose idea of tough love for terrorists involves medieval mutilation menus, wasn't just a one-off outrage but the rotten fruit of a regime that's gutted the Pentagon's legal lifelines, firing JAG chiefs like yesterday's headlines and swapping soldierly scruples for stochastic savagery, proving that Trump's America First is code for atrocities foremost. A fascist fever dream where the commander-in-chief cosplays as Caligula, feeding foes to the fishes while his sycophants sip single malt salutes? Behold the barbaric ballet of it all. Trump, the draft-dodging demagogue whose bone spurs were the only spurs he ever sported, now spurs his whiskey-wild warlord to wage war on the waves, turning the U.S. Navy into a narco-naval execution squad that executes the exhausted and executes the ethos of engagement, all while the former JAG juggernauts, a cadre of courtroom colossi who once kept the Colosseum of conflict civilized, unleash a unanimous ukase branding Hegseth's no-quarter nightmare as Nuremberg's nightmare reborn. America, behold the bedlam. This isn't command. It's carnage incarnate. A Sunday slaughter where the strongman shtick shatters like shot glass shards under the boot of his own barbarism, leaving a party in paranoid pieces and a nation navigating the nightmare of nukes in noodle arms. Time to eviscerate the emperor whose elastic empire of excuses stretches from fake news, flack, to felonious firestorms, dragging us all into the deep end of his dementia-drenched depravity. The Trinidad tempest that thrashed the turquoise on September 2nd, 2025, wasn't some nautical nuisance. It was a nautical Nuremberg, a high-seas heresy where the U.S. military's mighty machinery morphed into a merciless meat cleaver under the manic ministrations of Pete Hegseth, that Fox News frat boy fiasco whose primetime preening masked a penchant for pint-sized patriotism laced with pint-sized pores of prejudice. The Washington Post's whistleblower windfall on November 29th, sourced from 6 shell-shocked sentinels still shaking from the spectacle, sketched a scene straight from a sadist storyboard. A Reaper drone's remorseless retina roams the rumpled rollers off Trinidad's treacherous tip, zeroing in on a Dominican flag drifter laden with the lowlife lucre of Colombia's Clan del Golfo. A cartel cockroach convoy crawling with cocaine contraband bound for Baltimore's back alleys. Hegseth's hallowed, lethal kinetic, that Fox-forged flourish for fuck him up in 5 syllables, escalates to executive extermination as the Spec Ops spymaster snaps the signal. No quarter, every survivor. The first fusillade? A hellfire holocaust that hurls the hull to Hades. 11 aboard atomized in an instant of infernal incandescence, the wreckage a wretched raft of ribs and ropes bobbing like a bad buoy in bloodied brine. But 2 tenacious tars, tenaciously tenured by tenacity, tenaciously tangle with the tide, survivors, surrendered by circumstance, their mission marooned in the merciless main, or to combat by Haig's hallowed handbook. Hegseth's hiss from the earring? Kill everybody. The second salvo, a savage sequel of shrapnel showers that shreds the stragglers, souls sundered in swells, their screams swallowed by the sea's silent scorn, a spectacle so sordid it scorches the scrolls of Geneva's grim gospel and the UCMJ's unyielding umbrage. Hegseth's heritage? A hangover of hubris, the primetime poseur whose Pentagon perches on a pedestal of propaganda. Fox's weekend warrior who warbled about woke weakness while Whiskey Wild videos went viral. His 2015 St. Patrick's Day slosh fest with 2 blondes a blonde bombshell that blonde blinded his blonde ambition until blonde ambition blonde blinded the blonde Senate. 50-50 with Vance's tiebreaker, a triumph of tolerance for tippling that tipped the scales toward tragedy. Confirmed May 2025 amid murmurs of mental problems and know something wrong with him that echoed like a diagnosis in denial. Hegseth's lethal lexicon. Coined in Caribbean capers, killing 83 in 2 months. War crimes per brass who bolted like Holy's hasty hiatus. Hides a hollow heroism. The Bonespur braggart's boy wonder whose fight, because we love what's behind us, rings ridiculous when behind us means boat bombings without body cams or bountiful bodies bobbing in the bay like buoys of barbarism. His 2024 book? A Barbaric Blueprint. What if we treated the enemy the way they treated us? Rip your arms off and feed them to hogs. Hogs. Hegseth's hogwash, a frat boy fantasy, now federal felony. The no-quarter nightmare in Nuremberg gnawed in reverse, where the tribunal's ghosts gasp at the gall, the Hague's hallowed halls humming with his hypocrisy, the JAG's Jeremiad on November 29th, a jihad of jurisprudence that jettisons his jingoism into the junkyard of jurisprudence. The former JAG's fatwa, a fusillade from the front lines of law, a unanimous ukase from the working group of ex-JAG juggernauts. Stephen Lepper, Air Force Deputy JAG, a legal lion who leashed the Luftwaffe's legacy. Patrick Milan, Marine Judge, federal firebrand whose courtroom claws carved careers. Rob Bracknell, Marine maven, whose manual for martial matters mentored majors. Todd Huntley, Navy captain. Georgetown Guardian, whose gavel guided generations. Formed in February's fury after Hegseth's hatchet hacked the Army and Air Force JAG chiefs like cordwood for a campfire of cruelty. Their November 29th manifesto? A masterstroke of moral might. The giving and execution of these orders, if true, constitute war crimes, murder, or both. Had guardrails been in place, these crimes would have been prevented. Non-international armed conflict? Common Article 3's clarion call cascades. Persons taking no active part in hostilities shall be treated humanely. Violence to life, murder, cruel treatment, outrages upon personal dignity, executions without judgment prohibited. The second strike, a savage sequel to the first, survivors rendered or to combat, rendered roadkill by rogue rockets that roar rebellion against the rulebook. Law Enforcement Op. 18 U.S.C. Section 2441's War Crimes Wickets all. Grave breaches of CA. 3. A prosecutable plague. From Hegseth's helm to the Hellfire's hammer. Nuremberg's superior orders no defense, a specter stalking the seals who saluted savagery. RCM 916. D. The rope that ropes the rope-a-dope. Superior orders no defense to patently illegal acts. The kill survivors, a kindergarten-level crime screaming stop in scarlet letters. AP2's Article 4. Wounded and shipwrecked, respected and protected. The U.S. signatory since 77 but Senate stalled. Reagan's 87 nudge now a nudge to nadir. Hegseth's hogs a hogwash homage to Hague horrors that horrify the hallowed. UCMJ Article 118. Unlawful killing with malice. Murder's mallet-mashing military malfeasance. The manuals mandate a manifesto for mutiny against the maniac. The JAG's Jihad. A call to Congress for commissions, to citizens for courage. Oppose intentional targeting. Military duty, disobey patently illegal orders. Emotional eruption. Not legalese, laceration. Veterans vilified for valor. Families felled fascist feints. Slotkin's shattered sanctuary, sobering soundtrack, systemic sadism. Beckham's bloody bookmark, bungled borders. Caribbean, chum bucket cruelty. Survivors shred of humanity, shredded shrapnel shadow. JAG's Jeremiad, a Jeremiad for justice in jeopardy. Vivid vignette. Trinidad's turquoise turned tomb. Drones cold, eye capturing carnage. First blast splintering speedboat. Survivors scrambling ants log. Hegseth's kill everybody killer command crackling comms. Second strike shredding souls swells. Final gasp Geneva's ghost. Seals scarred sadism stain. Wreckage whispering war crimes wail.